Everyone wants to take their business, their skills, to the next level. Small and mid-sized business owners have exceptional insight into how to do this. They endure and thrive because they find ways to overcome the challenges that come their way, and they can teach us valuable lessons to apply to our own companies and lives. Stephen Nooner, founder and owner of Alkali, a company with a unique process that helps businesses more effectively buy and manage their insurance programs. And Bob Gibbons, builder of Riata Commercial Realty, a real estate advisor and tenant advocate, are two prominent Metroplex businessmen who, along with their weekly guests, will ask their and your probing questions, finding impactful solutions that will help you reach for the next level. Here are your hosts, Stephen Nooner and Bob Gibbons.
Welcome, everyone, to The Next Level. I'm your host, Stephen Nooner.
Yes, you are, and you haven't been with us. You weren't with us last week, so you're kind of rusty. You didn't even start off.
I didn't even know what the pointing the finger at me meant.
Well, when I'm pointing at you, it means a few different things.
And I'm not even on meds anymore, so we might be in trouble this show.
We could be. You're going to be sleepwalking. Hey, we are here today with Nikki Hernandez.
All right.
I'm excited about this interview because Nikki is the founder of Boxes for You, and what's cool about this story is that she was 18 years old when this company started.
What were you doing at 18, Bob? Haagen-Dazs story?
Let's not talk about that. I did work at Haagen-Dazs. But anyway, so at 18, she starts this business with her dad, and then her dad says, "See ya, I'm going back to work." And she has to run this business. And they are in the boxes business, as you would expect from the Boxes for You name, but they do boxes of every kind you can imagine, shipping products, packaging, crash film, janitorial supplies, bags, all kinds of stuff. And they've grown from basically her and her dad to about 15 employees. And they're based in Plano. Welcome, Nikki. We're excited to have you.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I loved your mission statement. We supply the right shipping and moving. I wrote it down wrong here. Moving supplies in Dallas, Texas for any type of commercial or residential relocation. I loved it so much I wrote it very clearly, but I just love the simplicity. You guys are just very, very focused on what you guys do. It's so neat.
Thank you.
Seems rare in today's world. I feel like we all overcomplicate things. So I'm looking forward to learning more about your business.
So I'm kind of laughing because I'm not sure where you got that statement.
That's not your mission statement. It's just on your website.
That was her competitor that you were on.
Boxes, the number 4 and you.com, right?
That's right.
All right. Well, we like to start off every show with the wisdom of others. And today you provided a quote that I really love, and it's from the Apostle Paul. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And tell me why that's an important verse to you.
Everything about our business, I wouldn't say that it was founded on God because I was so young. I wasn't even a Christian when I started it, but I became one shortly after. And so probably early on, I didn't rely on God a whole lot. But as the business grew, I came to solely rely on Him to guide me in all my decisions.
So owning a business drove you to your knees.
For sure.
Is that the lesson here?
It definitely did.
That's why I said it's one of my favorites.
Now, the one thing I thought was interesting about you is in our prep, we asked you about something that not everybody knows about you, and you said that you're a daredevil who doesn't like heights. How does that go together? What can you possibly do to be a daredevil and not enjoy heights?
Okay, so somehow I got rooked into skydiving.
Ah, how?
Because my husband's aunt said she would do it, and I knew she wouldn't do it, and she did, and so I said, well, I'll do it if she does it. So we go to the place, they hook us up, they take us up in the plane. I'm so freaked out that they normally take you to the edge and face you forward and then you go out. Well, the guy knew I was not going. And so he had me sideways and just yanked me out of the plane.
Wow.
And it was awful.
Oh, wow.
Really?
It was cool. I would never do it again.
So being able to say you've done it is better than doing it.
Yeah, yeah. It's so terrifying you cannot scream. It was the scariest thing I've ever done in my life. So
Wow.
my husband loved it, and he'll do it repeatedly, but not me.
See, my daughter did it not too long, well, a year ago or so, and she was looking forward to it. She'd actually done hang gliding, and then she went skydiving, and she says she really loved hang gliding. She didn't like skydiving all that much. It was okay, but she says, I'll never do it again. I certainly won't ever pay for it again. But I want to do it.
Yeah. I want to do it, and then we had kids, and then
Yeah, that'll mess it
now
up.
I feel irresponsible if I do it with them. So we went to what is that place called?
Oh, yeah, I fly. Yeah, that's a cool place.
And simulated something, you know.
That's
Pretty
like-
sure it's a big difference.
It's
but
a big difference.
It's like vegetarian skydiving.
I know.
That's just not, or vegan even.
Yeah,
It's not the
if-
right thing.
If I didn't have kids, I would do it again, probably.
Well, cool.
But I do, so.
All right, well, let's get into the meat of the business stuff here. So take us back to, you're 18 years old. Had you graduated from college? I mean, from high school, sorry, when you...
Yes. Yes.
so-
So I graduated from high school. I came from a family of entrepreneurs. So there was no college fund. Nobody was going to college. We just didn't do it.
Yeah.
And so my dad said he had a vacant building and he had 2 years left on his lease. And he said, what if we open a box store? And I'm like, okay. So
Why boxes? I mean, that's kind of random.
So both of my parents own moving companies. So I was in the moving industry my entire life. So it was just, it went with it.
Okay,
And so
yeah.
he had all the contacts already to get us set up.
Couple
Why
of
not
big
a
customers?
Why not a dolly store or a,
I don't
blanket
know.
store?
I don't know. It was my dad's idea. He said, everybody needs boxes. And he's right.
So how did this get started in reality? I mean, what did you do first?
So he had good friends that were sales reps, and they set us up on what's called a zero-based inventory. And so we didn't have to pay for anything until we sold it.
Oh.
And we, at the time, rented rental trucks and sold all kinds of things to make ends meet. We sold stun guns. We sold refurbished telephones.
You still sell those?
No.
I've got a co-host problem.
I would love to have a stun gun right now. That would be fun for our audience that watches on video.
Yeah, so we just sold everything that we could. We sold pallet racks, and then a couple years in, we got computerized, and I never saw my dad again. He was out. He just wasn't he wasn't technologically advanced back then.
So the computer drove him out.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So after that, I just I'm not a salesperson. They call me like the puppet master. I just pull strings from behind, and nobody ever sees me. So I market it a lot, and that's how I grew my business.
So what was that like? So you're not sales, or you're not, I mean, so I'm guessing is you just like more ops, you like behind the scenes type work more?
Yes.
And so being on the front stage does it make you nervous, or?
Yes. Yes. I will not go. I don't go calling customers. I'm just too shy.
Even
So-
existing customers.
Yeah, even existing customers. I rarely ever leave my office.
Except to come on the radio.
Except to come on the radio, which is awful.
We're doing great here.
Yeah, I
Thumbs
can
up there.
Sounds like I'm dating again, actually. All right, so you get this business. You're doing boxes. How do you
No, go ahead.
how do you get the first employee? I mean, do you just what's the first position you hire for?
So originally, my brother was there with me, and he and I had a falling out, and so
Of
then
a
it
business, personal? I don't want to
It
dig
was-
deep, but
it was business.
okay.
It was business, and that wedge is still there. So when he left, I hired a driver because that was what I needed. So I was in the store, and I had a driver, and he would go do the box deliveries.
Okay.
So the boxes get delivered by somebody who, I mean, did you have somebody work in the warehouse, or did the driver do that as well?
There was no warehouse.
Oh.
We were in a little 1,600 square foot building. So we would borrow some space out of my dad's warehouse, and then we had some trailers that we would keep inventory in. But we were small. We were small.
And so you had a delivery guy who was doing the delivery. You weren't really much into sales. So like obviously he had some relationships. He had some probably good customers initially on, but you've grown the business significantly over the years. So how did that kind of evolve, and where did the growth come from?
So people laugh, but when I first started, I would get a Yellow Pages and a Mapsco.
Okay.
And I would be like, what customer uses boxes? And so I would look them up. I would go to that category, and I would write down their address, and then I would go to the Mapsco and get their zip code, and I would mail them a price list. And that is how I got some of my biggest customers that are still my customers today.
Are you serious?
So direct mail still works.
It still works.
So you wouldn't call them?
No.
If they called you, would you answer the
Yes,
phone?
yes. If you call me, I can sell you anything.
Okay.
But I will not call you.
Interesting.
So you serve, not sell.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's a cool way to say it, Stephen.
Yeah.
I like that.
Well, I mean, that's sort of, what I think good consulting or good, really good salespeople ultimately do. But
Well, and working within your strengths.
yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're not going to be able to get out there and drag them in as far as, customers goes, then you better serve them really well so that they'll tell others.
Do you still do that same practice today? Or how has it evolved?
The sad part is I still do similar things to that.
Yeah.
I've gotten a little bit better. I still do a lot of direct mail, a lot.
Yeah.
But now I can afford to buy lists instead of making them up myself.
Oh, okay. And has that improved your results?
I don't know that it's improved my results. I think my direct targeted ones actually were probably better.
Interesting.
Do you employ salespeople now, or
I do.
as part of your team?
I do. We have 3 outside salespeople now.
Okay. And what do they get most of? Is it networking, or how are they?
So they're all different. One is a marketer like me.
Mm-hmm.
One will cold call anybody.
Okay.
And one does no cold calls. However, he is highly successful.
Huh.
No cold calls, highly successful.
Yes.
So what is, help me.
Only warm
happened.
invitations.
Okay, so he's basically networking and gets an introduction, then he follows up.
Yeah, he's a great sales rep, and his customers refer him a lot.
Okay. All right. Well, that makes sense. I mean, you can't, one size does not fit all, which is good. So one of the things you had told us earlier was that, there's not only one, there were too many ways to market, and you wish there weren't.
Yes, it used to be very easy. It was the Yellow Pages.
So is that a function of the internet?
Yes, or it's a function of the Yellow Pages going away, because it was so much easier back then. You just put an ad in the Yellow Pages, and that was what everybody used. But now everybody uses so many different avenues, and are they searching Google? Are they searching Yahoo? Is it Bing? So like you have to be everywhere, and you don't know where the stuff comes from. And now it's easier to track, sort of.
Right.
But it's just difficult. It's
Interesting.
Well, we're going to go to a break, but you're growing your business, and you happen to land your biggest contract in history. What do you do when your supplier can't deliver? Stick around.
And now, Confessions of a Recovering Landlord.
This is Bob Gibbons with Riata Commercial Realty, and I am your recovering landlord. After 20 years as a landlord, I now use that experience only for the benefit of companies that lease or buy office buildings and warehouses. Today's confession: knowledge is power. We all negotiate from a position of power and strength, or at least we want to. In any negotiation, the party with the most knowledge probably has the upper hand. And landlords count on this being the case whenever you're negotiating a lease, because most landlords are professional real estate investors, and they hire professional leasing agents and property managers. Landlords are in the market every day negotiating leases, while tenants probably only negotiate 1, maybe 2 leases every few years. So tenants feel outgunned. Don't let landlords have all the power. As a former landlord for 20 years, I understand how landlords think and what motivates them. So let me put that knowledge and experience to work on your side of the negotiation. To learn more, contact me at texastenantrep.com. Again, that's texastenantrep.com.
Have you started making plans to take your business to the next level in 2016? Hi, I'm Stephen Nooner, founder and CEO of Alkali. We have a trademark process called the Empowered Advantage that enables CEOs, business owners, and entrepreneurs to more effectively buy and manage their insurance. Before sitting down to make your plans for the new year, here are just a few things to consider. Would you say that you have an actual insurance strategy, one that you can articulate, or have you just purchased a policy here and there over the years? If you have an insurance strategy, was it discussed under the pressure of a renewal deadline or considered earlier in the year to avoid fire drill decision making? If your answer was no to either of these questions, then you may not have the right partner on your team. Visit alkaliservices.com to contact us and take the next step to a bigger and better future.
Hi, I'm Matt Monero with Commercial Fleet Financing out of Dallas, Texas. We finance trucks of all shapes and sizes nationwide. I came on Steve and Bob's show today to bring some grit. Unfortunately, Steve didn't show up.
Welcome back to The Next Level, conversations that propel business. We're here with our guest, Nikki Hernandez. She's the founder of Boxes for You, and you can learn more at boxes4u.com.
Great job, Bob.
I thought so.
I'm really impressed with the reintroduction. We're all doing so well. I'm hoping by the end of the show, Nikki will give us a more warm thumbs up at the end of how we're doing.
Well, I'm not so sure right now, but let's keep trying.
Well, let's get into something that I thought was really interesting that you shared. It was, you recently, congratulations. We were talking about your growth before, but you won one of your biggest contracts in history. And you also had mentioned that you had challenges with one of your suppliers being able to deliver on that. So tell me about kind of all what happened there and how you went about solving that.
So it was our biggest account that we had ever landed with so many different box sizes. They were all pretty difficult to manufacture, pretty specialized, and 2 days before they were supposed to deliver, one of my suppliers dissolved their relationship with us.
Oh my gosh.
It was awful. I pulled into my garage on a Wednesday night and I opened my email before I got out of my car, and I read the email and I burst into tears because I didn't know what I was going to do. So I thought about it and I was like, okay, I have a supplier that has a plant close to this city, and let me call them. And so I called, and she answered the phone, and I was crying, and she said, "Are you crying? Quit crying." She's like, "Just send me the specs." So I was like, okay. So I sent them to her, and she totally bailed me out. She produced all the boxes in 24 hours and delivered them on time.
Wow.
So once again, probably a God thing.
Yeah.
Because I did not, I cannot believe that it was all okay, because it was devastating.
So did the customer even know about it?
The customer did not know. No, only my husband knew, because he had to deal with all the tears.
2 days of tears?
Oh, that account was so rough. I would walk in the door several days out of the week and burst into tears.
Wow.
It was a long month.
Now, speaking of your husband, by the way, I noticed that you work with your husband.
I do.
So tell us how that went down.
So how it started?
Whatever you feel like disclosing.
So I met my husband shortly after he got out of the Marine Corps, and his brother actually worked for me. And so not long after that, about a year later, we got married, and so he and I started working together, and it's been great. It's been great. He and I are best friends. We get along really well. We share an office, and we don't have any issues. There's no, "Did you have a good day?" Because we know.
Yeah. Can't get away from each other.
No.
You guys have kids too, right?
We do. We have 3 kids.
Ages?
10, 12, and 15.
Okay.
Nice. Well, Stephen and I both work with our wives, so we're
Work for our wives.
I'm just kidding. No comment. No comment.
Just messing around.
Depends on the day.
Hey, honey.
So tell us, what was one of the biggest challenges you faced as an entrepreneur?
One of the biggest challenges, so I guess it would be a year ago, a little over a year ago. We went out of town and we came back, and my credit card was declined. And so one of my drivers came and was upset, and he told me, and I was like, okay, well, let me call. And I asked my right-hand girl, did you pay the bill? And she said yes. And so I got online and found a whole web of charges and deceit and everything else that had been going on for 3 years, right under my nose, that I had missed. And it totaled up to $113,000.
So she'd been stealing.
Yes, she had been stealing. So it was devastating. And that was, I found that out 1 month before the giant contract that we landed.
Oh,
so
nice.
Probably the tears were a combination of dealing with the grief, and it wasn't just the money. It was, she was my friend, and I trusted her.
How long has she worked with you?
5 years.
Oh, my.
So it was a hard lesson.
Yeah.
Because I'm hands-on. I had backed off a little bit to try to spend more time with my kids. But I really still pay attention to everything. I balance all the bank statements. I really didn't think that there was any way somebody was stealing from me. Mm-hmm. But that was the only thing that it was she had her own credit card. And our credit card bills are always super high. So $20,000 a month didn't make me flinch because it was typical. And and she hid the bills from me. So she would intercept them before I ever even saw them. And she would put in all the charges, but she would just lump it into other categories. And I missed it.
So what have you done since?
Great question, Bob.
I thought you might think so.
So the good news is I had what a lot of insurance agents call as fluff coverage, but it was an employee dishonesty rider. And so I got some of the money back with that. It's made me a better company. It's my husband wrote us an employee handbook, which we didn't have and we needed to. I've made sure that we have that coverage in place for the future. Sure. And I have made sure that I have more control or more checks.
So give some an example for the audience, because I see this all the time in our business. So just, if you wouldn't mind sharing some of the checks that you have now. So
I enter the credit card statements, and if I don't enter them, at least I see them. I see all the bank statements, not just the statements, but I see the copies of all the checks to make sure that, I've heard other stories from people about where people change the names on the checks and stuff. So I make sure that every check that's written is written to the right place. I see most of the bills. I just pay more attention.
I was with a company many years ago, and about a month before I joined the company, they quit giving employees company credit cards. And so every employee had to use their own personal credit card for business travel, whatever, expense report stuff, and then they had to get reimbursed. So they had to sort of justify every expense before they got reimbursed for it. And I was kind of bummed out because if I had been there earlier, I would have got a company credit card. But I really understood the reason for that, because people seem to be far less likely to abuse their own credit card than they will somebody else's.
Yeah, I mean, that I think is a common thing. They'll sometimes spend less or not turn in the worthless 32 cents they would go ahead and try to run on the card or whatever.
But sometimes you can't do that. There's certain, like if you have a truck driver, you're saying maybe he doesn't have a credit card personally that he can spend on. So you can't do that with everybody.
Well, I changed our drivers. They used to all have credit cards, and now they have They're credit cards, but they're only allowed to be used for fuel and maintenance.
Yeah. So you can change SIC codes on them too. We put daily limits on our car. It's one of the things you do too. And
Yes, I have that now too.
yeah.
And monthly limits.
And one thing that's really great, we saw one time where sadly someone gave a grace because of the relationship. So I'm assuming that ended y'all's relationship is where a lot of the...
It ended our relationship. The insurance company said I had to press charges, so I did press charges.
Good. I'm glad you did that, because so many people just sort of let them walk away and just try to cover it over.
Yeah, and I'm not vindictive, and I really don't know why, because I should be. Like, everybody that knows me wanted to do something bad to her.
But that's not being vindictive. That's holding people accountable.
Right. So, but I don't want her to do it to somebody else. So I do want it to, if nothing else, go on her record just so she can't hurt somebody else.
Well, we saw one time where someone gave grace. They admitted, hey, I've been doing this. I'm sorry. It'll never happen again. Generous, nice person gave him grace, right? We started off with Apostle Paul, right? So gave him grace. They stole almost a 10x exponential amount later down the road.
Man.
And the insurance coverage was voided because they gave him grace the first time they'd known about that and then didn't act on it. And so you definitely did the right thing. Just from a totally different perspective, right? From a worldly insurance perspective, so to speak. But I mean, this is a really important lesson. You're not alone. We see this happens to business owners, sadly, all the time. Horror stories for another show, but
So you, one of the things you'd mentioned that was one of the scariest things you did in business was moving into a much bigger warehouse, 25,000 square feet. Why was that such a scary thing?
Because our rent at least tripled. So it was scary. So we moved to Plano. My dad found us this warehouse. He was driving, he was building a warehouse right around the corner from it. And so he's like, I found this warehouse. We always wanted to be in West Plano. I don't know why. That was like in my head. Mm-hmm. And he said, but it's in East Plano. And we ran the numbers, and Plano Parkway's got great numbers.
Yes.
And so we're like, well, we'll try it. So the second day in business, we sold 32 cents.
32
Oh my God. I was like, what have we done?
What can you possibly sell for 32 cents?
It was one box, 8 by 6 by 4,
That's amazing.
to a business, and it was 32 cents.
But I'm trusting it's picked up since then, because you're still in that warehouse, so
Yes.
somebody's paying the rent. Well, Nikki, thank you so much for being our guest today. We've really enjoyed having you.
Thank you.
Everybody, please go to boxes, the number 4 and the letter U.com to learn more.
If you want to learn more about any of our guests, please visit nextlevelshow.com.
And in fact, look up Michael Thomas. If you explore the archives of our show, Michael Thomas is the executive director of My Possibilities. And one thing that was really interesting about him is that while he's running a nonprofit, he runs it very similarly to a for-profit company. And so to learn more about that, go check out the archive, Michael Thomas, My Possibilities. And we'll be back next week with another great guest.
Have a great week.
You have been listening to The Next Level, Conversations That Propel Business with Stephen Nooner and Bob Gibbons. Join us every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. for more prolific conversations that will take your business to the next level.